Shri Sai Ram. A very hearty Sai Ram to all of you, dear children. Hope you are all doing well. So today we will be studying about the advent of Europeans to India. So why did these Europeans come to India? What was the purpose? So in this particular chapter we are going to study about the trade and commerce relationship India had with Europeans, the arrival of Europeans for trade, then the Carnatic Wars in the backdrop of European political developments, the Battle of Plassey, Battle of Buxar and the dual government system, and the British policy of aggression, or how they expanded their empire in India. So before going through this lesson, first advent means arrival or coming. And where is this Europe? So you know that 7 continents are there, in that Europe is one of the continent, and we have nearly 44 countries in Europe. So famous United Kingdom, Ireland is there, Denmark, Netherlands, France, Portugal. So we have nearly 44 countries. So now there was a trade relationship between India and Europe from very ancient times, because you know that all the things are not available everywhere in the world. So the nature has created in such a way that few products are available or raw materials are available in only few parts of the world. So they had to come to India for particular products. So there was great demand for Indian spices like pepper, cardamom, ginger and many other spices were demand in Europe. And also the climate of Europe was not suitable for the growth of spices there. So coming here, so when Europeans came to India, as we told that spices were very important to the Europeans. Why they were so important? Could they not grow there in their own land? So here spices saw a lot of uses in medieval Europe. They were used for incense in churches, what you call as agarbatti, incense sticks, and other ceremonies. During all special functions they needed all these spices. Sweet and pleasant aroma. Aroma means smell. Carried important symbolism. It had a very important symbolism that so the aroma of that particular spices had its own importance. So they were important to the church. Then they were thought to have medicinal properties, healing properties. Even today we use in our houses all these ginger, pepper, cardamom for if there are any health issues. We use all these spices. So that medicinal properties these spices were having, so they were prescribed by doctors and taken to prevent to cure illness. Then as far as food is concerned, European cuisines, dishes among the wealthy at any rate used a lot more spices than it is now. So it was a prestige issue, and the spices which are grown in Europe were of not that strong or having that aroma or smell, because that soil and climatic condition was not suitable for the growing of these spices. So that was in large demand in India. Ginger, shunti, what you call, pepper, kalamensu, nutmeg, cumin, dalchini, lavanga, chakke, what you call, and so on were used with a much heavier hand, and being able to use a lot of spices in food was a way of showing off. It was also a question of prestige. So only rich people. So this was the importance of spices to Europeans. For all these reasons, there was heavy demand for spices in medieval Europe. So because why for only spices they had to come? So these were the reasons. They had the church for important ceremonies they were using. For it was used as a medicinal property. It was having medicinal property. Then it was a prestige issue for the rich and the luxurious people. It was a show of their wealth. Then supply on the other hand was very scarce there. As I told you already, the climatic condition and the soil was not suitable for growing this one. Example, ginger could eventually be grown fairly close to Europe, but Europeans didn't have access to the seeds to grow other spices, nor the knowledge necessary to cultivate them if they had. So they did not have much knowledge at that point of time. Pepper, so what you call as kalamensu, had to come from India. Cinnamon from Southeast Asia, today Indonesia, Bali, these countries, and clove and nutmeg from a few tiny islands in what is now Indonesia. Spices were therefore naturally very expensive. It was very costly there. Now you can see that this ginger, this pepper, cardamom, lavanga, these were in very demand in these European countries, as I told you already, for all these medicinal, religious purpose, and also for the food. So trade between India and Europe, the trade relationship continued between India and Europe and other Asian countries even during the Middle Ages. The Arab merchants carried the Asian merchandise. Merchandise means all the goods into Constantinople of Eastern Roman Empire. So you can see here, so there is a Byzantine Empire. So it was a part of the Roman Empire. Today what you call as Turkey. So Turkey was earlier called by the name as Constantinople, that particular area. Today it is called as Istanbul. That particular Constantinople is called as Istanbul, now in Turkey. So whatever trade between Europe and Asia, in India, had to pass through this Turkey. It was called as the gateway to Europe. And you can see here the trade routes which were there. Example from China, how they came here. So from India, these were the different trade routes. So this was under the Byzantium Empire or the Eastern Roman Empire. So later on, this came under this was also a entry port trade. This Istanbul, or what called as Constantinople, was acting like an what you call a center of entry port trade. What do you mean by entry port trade? You purchase a product from one country in order to sell it to another country. Today we have Singapore, Dubai. These countries purchase from other countries in order to sell it to other countries. So this Constantinople was doing that job. Arab merchants had gained monopoly. What do you mean by monopoly? Monopoly means exclusive control over the supply of trade in a commodity or service. Means only they have rights. No other persons or groups have any rights over that. So this monopoly or complete control was in the hands of the Arab merchants. They were purchasing products from India, selling it to European countries. From European countries they would purchase products and sell it to India, and they were making a lot of profit. So the merchants of merchandise or the products from Asia had brought profits to Italian merchants also. Here Italians were also involved in this particular trade. So Arabs were making profit, and also the Italians were also making the product. Italian traders had gained monopoly over trade in Europe. So concerning Europe, so they were having the monopoly. They were purchasing the products from Arab merchants and selling it in Europe. So this was going on for a long time. So now this, as I told you, the city of Constantinople was acting like the gateway to Europe, where all the products from India were brought here, and from here it was going to Europe, and from Europe whatever products were there coming to Constantinople, and from there it was coming to India. In this way trade was going on for a long time. So as I told you, gateway of Europe was Constantinople, today modern Istanbul in Turkey. Then in 1453, a group of Turks called as the Ottoman Empire, Ottoman Turks, they captured this Constantinople, which was under the control of the Romans. Now, as a result, the trade routes, land routes were blocked. Now these Turks imposed heavy taxes on the goods. As you know that if the tax is increased on the good, suppose a product costs 10 rupees, and there is increase in tax, example there is another 10 rupee tax, then the cost of the products become 20 rupees. When the cost becomes more, the number of people purchasing becomes less. So this was the thing when the Ottoman Turks started to impose heavy taxes. It was the European merchants found it very difficult because the prices were heavy, the demand came down. So the Turks started levying or imposing too many taxes on the goods passing through these routes. As a result, the merchants felt that trade was not profitable because, as I told you, the demand, the prices increased and the demand fell down. Earlier, the Italians had monopoly in the trade in Europe because they were purchasing from Arabs and selling. Now there were competitors. Example, Spain and Portugal, they also thought, why only Italy is making, we also should involve in this particular trade. And now they were attempting to break the monopoly of the Italian traders. Monopoly means one which is under control of one organization or one country. So now there were other factors which encouraged trade. So one is the Portuguese particularly encouraged their sailors who sail in the sea to go and find a new sea route to India, to find a sea route. And also there were scientific things like the invention of compass, which will show the direction, astrolabe, another instrument which will show the position of the longitude and latitude. Then there were the small type of what you call caravel ships, small ships which could move easily. Another invention was the gunpowder. Because of gunpowder, they could protect their areas, they could attack the enemies. These were all of the use of gunpowder. So in this way, cartography, map making, so that map making became one of the important factors which encouraged what you call sailors to go to different parts of the world. Compass, which showed the direction. Astrolabe, which shows the position of the latitude which they were there. Caravel means the boat, small boats which they could travel easily. And also the gunpowder, because of which they could attack the enemies and protect themselves. So here, just for your reference, here in Egypt, Suez Canal. So this Suez Canal is in Egypt. Otherwise, the traders had to come from India round about South Africa and reach Europe. In the year 1869, they started in the year 1859, and 1869 this Suez Canal got completed. Because of this, a lot of kilometers, nautical miles. Nautical miles means in the sea, in the water, we measure in terms of nautical miles. Example, 1 nautical mile is equal to 1.852 kilometers. So this is a modern thing, as I am telling you. So where they could travel, instead of traveling from India around South Africa and reaching Europe, now they could save a lot of distance because of the Suez Canal. As I told you, the Italian merchants had monopoly over the trade in Europe. Now this was the other countries like Spain, Portugal wanted to break this monopoly. Now Portugal started to encourage its sailors, and the astrolabe and other equipments helped them to explore new trade routes to India. So this development not only changed the history of India, but also changed the history of the European countries. The Portuguese were the first to arrive at India for trade. Till that time, all were doing the trade through Constantinople. Now, they were also the last to leave India on the sea route. European trade companies, with the success of Portuguese, many Dutch, French and English also started to arrive at India. First only the Italians were there, later on the Portuguese, the Dutch, the French and the English started to arrive to India. In the year 1498, Vasco da Gama, the sailor, with the encouragement of the Portugal king, started to come to India, and he arrived at Calicut in Kerala and met the king there, Zamorin, and requested for the trade licenses. After Vasco da Gama, Francis de Almeida arrived in India as the viceroy of Portuguese, who was in charge here. He implemented what is called as the blue water policy in order to establish supremacy or complete control over the sea instead of supremacy over the lands, because land was difficult, because different empires will be there, it will be going on changing. So they wanted a sea route, and he established what he called as the blue water policy, where the ships could be going easily without any obstacle. After Francis de Almeida, Alfonso de Albuquerque, who came after Almeida, is considered as the real founder of Portuguese Empire in India. 1510, he waged a battle against the Sultan of Bijapur and won Goa. So at that point of time, Goa was under the control of Bijapur Sultans. And in the year 1510, he waged a war against the Sultans of Bijapur and made Goa its capital. Goa became the administrative center of Portuguese administration in India. The Portuguese had absolute monopoly over trade with India for almost a century, and their power declined with the arrival of English and French in India. For nearly 100 years, the Portuguese had complete control over trade in India. But with the arrival of the French and the English, their monopoly broke down. Monopoly means control by single power. Next comes the Dutch. that is called the United East India Company. They had formed a company called as the United East India Company. It was established in the year 1602 with the aim of doing business with the eastern countries and entered countries like India, Java, Sumatra, Indonesia, and spices rich islands, which because these are the countries where spices are grown because the climatic condition and the soil is suitable. Capital of Netherlands is Amsterdam. They established warehouses in Surat. So warehouses means I will show here, it is the go down where to store all their products. So in Surat, that is in Gujarat, Broch, Kambe, Cochin, Nagapattinam, Tamil Nadu, Masulipatnam, Chinsor and other places in India, they established their warehouses. Warehouses means go downs to store all their products. With this, they broke the monopoly of Portuguese in India. This Dutch company, Dutch East India Company or the United East India Company, so they broke the monopoly of the Portuguese in India. So for nearly 100 years, Portuguese were having the monopoly. Later, unable to face the competition from English and the French, Dutch limited themselves to the spice-rich islands. Later on, with the arrival of English and French to India, this Dutch East India Company also had to limit their trade to a few of the islands like Indonesia, Java, and they had to leave India. They could not survive much because of the French and the English. So these Dutch established warehouses, as I told you, the godowns at places called Surat, which is in Gujarat, Bharuch, Kambe, then Masulipatnam, Balasore. So in this area, they had trading posts, factories, settlement. They had settled in certain places, and these are the areas where they were having the warehouses. Warehouses means godowns. You can see here, this is the godown with all the fort. They had built all the high walled compound, and all the products were stored there. So warehouses were the places for storing merchandise or the products. Huge walls were built around these warehouses to provide protection. So very huge walls were built. The warehouses were the places of storing merchandise, and so these were built around these warehouses to provide protection. In 1600, December 31st, Queen Elizabeth issued a royal charter authorizing East India Company to trade with the eastern countries for 15 years. Next comes the English. The company started the business formally in the year 1613. Now the English slowly enter the scene. Now in the year 1613, they come to the court of Jahangir to take the trade license. So children, today we have finished the first part. So the trade relationship between India and Europe. So Europe consists of 44 countries, particularly United Kingdom, Ireland, Spain, Portugal, and 44 countries are there. So there was a trade relationship between India and Europe from very ancient times, and Indian spices were in huge demand in these European countries because they could not grow all the spices there because the land and climate was not suitable, and the Indian quality of spices were very superior compared to the European spices. Then we have discussed already what were they used for medicinal properties. In the churches for religious purpose they were used. For the rich people, it was a luxury to use these products. Then these were the different spices like ginger, pepper and cardamom. Then trade was taking place between India and Europe through Constantinople today, which is there in Turkey, called Istanbul. To that particular area, so the trade was going on, and the Arab traders had complete monopoly over the trade. Monopoly means a single control, and from European side the Italians were having the monopoly, and the other countries of Europe like Spain, French, Dutch, they wanted to break this monopoly. And in the 1453, Constantinople came under the control of Turks. The Turks started to impose heavy taxes on the goods, and this was not profitable to the merchants. Now the European rulers started to encourage their sailors to find a new sea route to India so that they can have direct trade contact without any intermediaries or middlemen. In this way, these were the factors which encouraged traders to go and find new sea routes to India. So the cartography, map making, then astrolabe, compass, caravel, gunpowder, these things helped the Europeans to find new sea routes to India. Then about Suez Canal, so which was there, it is today, it is there in Suez Canal is in Egypt. They have done dredging. What you call it dredging means removed that a piece of land was there that was cleared, so that from this area that the land could be, water could be connected. Otherwise this was an obstacle, and because of this a lot of kilometer has been nautical miles distance has been saved. Then the Portuguese were the first to come to India. 1498, Vasco da Gama, the sailor, came to India, comes to Calicut, meets the king Zamorin, and has agreement between Zamorin and Vasco da Gama. After Vasco da Gama, Francis de Almeida arrived in India as the viceroy, and he implemented the blue water policy in order to establish supremacy or control over the sea instead of supremacy over the lands. After him comes Alfonso de Albuquerque, who is considered as the real founder of Portuguese Empire in India. 1510, he wages battle against the Bijapur Sultan and captures Goa and makes it as the administrative and capital of Portuguese. So after the arrival of English and French to India, the Portuguese influence reduces and they were confined to just Goa. Next comes the Dutch. So Dutch capital is Amsterdam. Holland also it is called, Netherlands. United East India Company, they started to have a relationship with India. United East India Company in the year 1602 established to do business with these eastern countries, that is India, Java, Sumatra, Indonesia and spice-rich islands. So with this we have come to an end to this particular unit. So warehouses, we have already told you. So few assignments are there. So 1453, the Ottoman Turks captured the city of, which city did they capture? The Ottoman Turks. The Portuguese, named the Portuguese traveler who discovered the sea route between Europe and India. Answer the following in 5 to 6 sentences. How did trade take place between India and Europe during the Middle Ages? So we will meet in the next class. Thank you. Sai Ram.